All right, welcome in. It's Monday. It's Total Basis, two-man show today. Bryan, Leonard, I got to be honest, as someone that really likes driving around, if you follow me during college basketball season, you know I get out on the road. I think like this would be like a dream day for me to be like in the car with Tokyo Brandon, just driving to the middle of nowhere, Japan. That sounds awesome to me. That's where TB is today, so we'll miss him. He'll be back tomorrow. But your MLB go to MLB free pick show right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Will go on as scheduled with myself and Bryan Leonard. So it's Monday. It's a little bit slower of a day. How was your weekend, Bryan?
Well, it was good for my betting and for the clients. It's been bad for me personally because my air conditioning has been off all weekend.
Oh, jeez.
And I can't get anybody out here till today. So I've been sweating my ass off, and we actually have been staying at one of our local casinos out here, the Suncoast, and they've got a great sports book over there. So we spent the day there yesterday, and I know Tokyo Brandon likes to talk about music. We went to see Rick Springfield last night in Henderson, and he's going to be 76 years old next month. Puts on a hell of a show. He's at his age, he and Mick Jagger are the only two guys I've ever seen in that age group that can just run around, and he still sounds great. It was a really nice show. It's called Back to the 80s or whatever. So John Waits and Wang Chung and Paul Young. Paul Young's not so Paul Young anymore. But, it was a nice show, and it didn't cost a whole lot. Nice night out with the family.
Now, that's Jesse's girl, right? That's Rick Springfield. Yeah. Listen, I grew up listening to mostly my parents' music, so I was born in 1986. A lot of people think I'm much younger than I am. I'll be 40 next year. Someone in the chat was like, just shocked at that. Like, I got the baby face. But yeah, I was born in 86, and I mostly grew up listening to music from the 70s and the 80s, which is why I'm such a big Billy Joel fan. And I actually took 11 years of piano lessons because of Billy Joel. And I don't think I've tried to sit down at the piano since I was about 16 years old. So that's too bad. I wish I kept on that later in life. It'd be cool to still be able to play. But anyway, what would also be cool is if we can find some winners today. Bryan, I feel like there's going to be a theme in a couple of these plays, and the theme is going to be teams playing well in spite of management wishing they didn't play as good as they were playing. Okay? That's the theme. That comes up this time of year every single year. It's who's gonna spite the front office, right? And one of the teams starting to do that is the Minnesota Twins. Okay? The Minnesota Twins were not that far out of it. Okay? I mean, they were out, it wasn't looking great for them, but they certainly weren't, like, if you go back 20 years, they're still trying to win baseball games. What were they, 6 games back? And they made a historic number of moves at the trade deadline, selling pieces off. On top of that, they're leaving guys like Mick Abel. Why is Mick Abel at AAA? Why is he still at AAA? Second great start for Abel at AAA yesterday. Not as good as the first one, but still, they're leaving guys at AAA that would probably help them at the big league level right now. And but what do? They walk off the Royals yesterday, take 2 of 3. Before that, they took 2 of 3 from the Tigers. You were totally right about Luke Keschel, by the way. I got to shout you out because I think before he even played a big league game, you said he might be the best player in their organization, and he is fantastic. Bryan, they're going to Yankee Stadium tonight. Suddenly, these games are kind of meaningful. So how are you seeing the Twins, and is this the team you want to bet on at all right now?
Yeah, I listened to about an hour and a half long podcast as much as I can with some Minnesota Twins podcasters and writers. I think they work for either the newspaper or work for the team. But they had a nice breakdown this week about what's going on in Minnesota. And you mentioned Keschel. He's a young guy. He's playing hot, and he's a spark for this team. And they just got him back, and he has been terrific. Minnesota, they didn't trade away their hitters for the most part, other than Correa, who I didn't think was very good anyway at this point in his career. So they've got some pretty good hitters on this team in the future. It was the bullpen that they traded away everybody, and that was really the strength of the team for a few years now. But they seem to have weathered it a little bit, And they got Zebby Matthews going on the mound today against Will Warren. Warren's about a 175 favorite, total of 9 to the under, 8.5 to the over. And you're right. This is a team now starting to believe in themselves. I thought I was going to be fading Minnesota on a regular basis after the trade deadline. And we had success doing that for the first few games. But lately, they're playing very well, as you pointed out, going against the Yankees, who found another way to lose yesterday. They are just not playing well. They're making minor league mistakes defensively, throwing to the wrong base, getting caught in rundowns. Just they've never been a very fundamental team. I don't like the manager. I've never liked Boone. I think he should be fired. I don't, I'm not Tokyo Brandon that jumps off the handle on a lot of these things, but I think we've seen enough out of him, and they've got more talent than what they should with their record. Granted, the starting rotation has been a problem this year. They've had some injuries, but they just get healed back, and he's not the greatest pitcher in the world, but he gives you some innings. You can cut down on the walks, so it's going to help. But they continue to throw Williams out there. They threw him out in the 6th inning yesterday, I believe it was, and he did not pitch well again. When can you count? Can you just cut the guy? I don't know. He's going to be a free agent. I guess they don't want to do that in case they want to try to sign him, or maybe something happens. But yeah, you've got to have some balls to play the Yankees right now. And the only problem is Zebby Matthews is a guy I really like, but he's been very inconsistent. He's been pretty good. When he's good, he's good. When he's bad, he's bad. He's a fly ball pitcher, 14% ground ball or 14th percentile ground ball rate. And this is not a very good stadium to play in if you are a fly ball pitcher. Comes in with a 5.17 ERA, but his expected ERA is 3.85. His whip is really high, 1.38. In fact, in his 2 seasons, it's a 1.51. He doesn't walk a lot of batters. Only 6% of the batters he walks. Strikeout rate 28.9, which gives him 22.9, which is excellent. But he's had some problems. Barrel rate 33%. Overall, I like him, but he's just like a lot of young pitchers. He's very inconsistent. Speaking of young pitchers, we get the same thing out of Will Warren here. One day he looks great, next day he looks terrible, and his StatCast page shows that. 4.44 ERA, 4.10 expected, 1.42 whip after a 1.9 whip in limited action last year. He's got great extension in the 82nd percentile, strikeout percent in the 76th, but average exit velocity 12th percentile, chase rate 10th, walk rate 16th, hard hit rate 16th. So we've got 2 pitchers here that can be hit. And the Yankees right now, the Yankees lineup is better than it has been for a while now that they've got, they got Stanton back, they've got Judge back now. And so the first thing I look at on this game would probably be the over. It opened 8.5, 20. Now it's at 9, under 20 at most places. If you can get that 8.5, 20, and there's, if you haven't got kicked out yet, ESPN Bet has 8.5 over 20. Circa here in Vegas, 8.5 over 20s, and Caesars 8.5, 25. So that would be the way I would look here. I still like the offenses here. Questions about the pitching staff, especially the Minnesota bullpen. They've been on borrowed time, I believe, but that's the way I would look at this one. And the Yankees got to turn it around if they're going to have any chance to make the playoffs. I think us and the fans of the show are rooting against that for the most part because they made some pretty good bets on not to make the playoffs for the Yankees.
Yeah, I think you sort of nailed this game. I'm just going to try to play off a lot of the points you made. So first thing, City by the Bay says, how does Boone still have a job? Listen, I was sympathetic toward his situation. I would say maybe 2 years ago, because I do think there's a lot that goes into being the Yankees manager that maybe we don't really understand as just fans. And it's I think for the most part, he's done a job that sort of at least earned him the right to stay around for a little bit. That being said, I started to realize this last year watching. Now, remember, the Yankees are still our local team here in Central New York. So I end up watching a lot of Yankee games just because, right? Like they're always on. If I'm not at home and with all the games and I'm over at the in-laws house, like it's the easiest game to turn on. Last year they started making a lot of these mistakes, but last year's team was a lot better, right? That last year's team was so much better than this year's team. Last year's team had Juan Soto, and he was good Juan Soto, right? Like you really it's crazy how much better they were last year than this year, but it's like they got away with playing bad baseball last year because the caliber, the team was just so much better. They could overcome a stupid error, a base running mistake. They just overcame it with being the best, one of the best teams in the league. This year, they're just not that. And it also, they overcame, like they would get to the 8th and 9th inning and it was just nails. It was Luke Weaver. It was, they would just lock it down. No problem. This year hasn't been that. You talk about Devin Williams. You said this last week, Brian. They got to send him to the minors. Let him go back to the minors for like 3 weeks and just figure some stuff out. Because really, if you're the Yankees, you need Devin Williams back in like September, right? Like you can live life without him for like 3 weeks. You got to get him back and have him be productive in September. I'm not saying he's got to be your closer, but he's got to give you like a good inning in like the 6th or 7th inning. That is just another example of the Yankees going in the total wrong direction. On the other side, I love Zebby Matthews. So this is where watching baseball matters. Like, and listen, like I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but like I can't stand when I hear like the crowd that it's like, oh, like I don't even watch the games, or it's just like all, it's like, well, it's just the numbers. I mean, we have people that sell picks on the site that don't watch baseball games, and like I'll just call it out. Like that's crazy to me because there's so much more than just the numbers that goes into it. And I feel like Zebby Matthews is a perfect example of that. You see the numbers. Yeah, the numbers at the big league level are not great. But if you've been watching this guy, I've been watching this guy since last year. I watched him fly through the Twins minor league organization because all he could do was throw strikes. Guy didn't know how to throw a ball. And then he got to the big league level last year and sort of learned quickly that you can't just throw strikes in the big leagues, right? Like you can't just have all of your pitches be in the zone all of the time. This year, he's actually been much better at that, but he's battled some injuries. He's had to work around some injuries. He's had to work around having time off, shutting it down, and then sort of getting going again, which is a whole nother battle, right? Like that's just a whole nother sort of battle to have to do that. And that in the middle of the season, because he wasn't hurt coming into the season, he got hurt, had to come back. So now if I look at him like post All-Star break, where he's had some time to come back, Nationals, 6 innings of shutout ball, 7 strikeouts, no walks. That's obvious. No walks. The guy he's allergic to throwing balls. I mean, he literally throws everything in the zone. The Red Sox got to him a little bit. Well, the Red Sox are hotter than any team on the planet right now, or during that run, July 30th. It was like the start of the Red Sox hitting anything and everything. So I'll give him a pass there. Last time out, Tigers, 5 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, one walk. So this is a guy where it's like you're not gonna get the full sort of rub by just looking at the numbers or having not seen him pitch. If you've seen this guy pitch, he's got a lot of plus stuff. There's a lot of reason to think that he could be pretty good. Mm-hmm. Will Warren, like he's got some upside, but again, I would almost argue he's been more inconsistent than Matthews, and he has less upside to be like a really, really good major league starter. I think he could hang around in this 5th starter role for a while, maybe on a different team. But let's be honest, if the Yankees were full strength, they're not having Will Warren as the 5th starter. So I like the Twins. I would have probably played this if I could get Twins plus 1.5 at a playable price. But for now, I like the Twins on the money line. So that's the play here. I don't know if that'll be like my parlay leg, but we're only going to have a 2-teamer today. So the price point is appealing for the parlay. But yeah, I really like the Twins.
I'll point out about Boone. The thing that really bothers me, and he got thrown out of game again yesterday, 5th time this season. How do you get thrown out of 5 games when you can't argue balls and strikes?
I know.
He whines too much. He's a crybaby. Sorry, the Boone family's had a lot of success in Major League Baseball, but nothing irritates me more than having that. And they got a veteran team. You don't need to fire up your team. If you've got a lot of young kids on the team, Yes, you go out, you kick the bases, you throw, the whole Earl Weaver shit. But if you've got a veteran team and your manager is making a fool out of himself all the time out there, complaining about everything, that's a negative to me. I think the Yankees need to make a change.
All right, Thomas Bow, thanks for joining. I don't know if we've pulled one of your comments up before, so very much appreciate you interacting. As always, please like, subscribe, and Bryan, I have to get this out real quick. I have a 5% play. I'm like 12-3 in my last 15 games, and if I don't promote the shit out of it, I'm going to get in trouble. I've already been told. So if you take away one thing from this show, it's that you should watch baseball. If you take away a second thing, it's that I have a 5% play tonight. Those are the two. You have to take those things away, and then anything else you pick up, that's great. That's bonus. But I gotta get that out there. It's a spot that I really do love, and who knows? We may or may not hit it on the show, but I'm not going to tell you if we do. So there you go. Keep firing games in the chat. I want to go to Thomas Bow here because this is example 2 of the Pirates front office has been working against them since the beginning of the year. They didn't just decide to like work against them at the trade deadline. Again, I don't want to go off on a tangent with this, but it's like a generational talent fell in your lap in Paul Skeens. You should be borrowing money from the Steelers if you have to. Be like, we got to get this is like our one chance. Like, we have to put anything we possibly can around this guy while he's still in Pittsburgh, because rest assured, when he's a free agent, he's not going to re-sign here because why would he? But yet they continue to do things that are not consistent with trying to win now, which in my opinion is crazy. That being said, since July 21st, Bryan, they are 8-1. Let me just make sure I got this right. 10, 12. Looks like they're 12-7. That's not bad. 12-7 since July 21st, since that sweep of the Tigers. And even this weekend, I watched a lot of that series. They played good ball to split with a Reds team that very much needed probably to take 3 or 4 in that series. And the Pirates, I thought, played really, solid baseball for the most part this weekend. Lost. They won the first 2 games of the series. They lose 2-1 on Saturday. They even made a little bid to come back yesterday. They end up losing 14-8. Thomas says the Brewers are going to lose at some point. I mean, that you think they would, right? They just thought they were going to lose yesterday, and somehow they walk it off against the Mets. So they're red hot. My question to you is this the letdown spot? Is this where the Brewers maybe drop one? Because that's a big price if you like the Pirates.
This, to me, is the most interesting game on the card. I've got a couple lefties, Haney going against Quintana. Current line, Quintana is about $195, $2, and 8.5 to the total over, about 120. Yeah, Pittsburgh has been playing some pretty good baseball. They make mistakes. They're a younger team, but you have to think that things are looking up in Pittsburgh. If they could just get the staff or management to spend a little bit of money. They're still throwing out Andrew Haney. We all thought he would be traded over the break. He was not. 4.77 ERA, 5.42 expected, 1.27 WHIP. He's had some good starts this year, but overall, he's fringe major league pitcher. Andrew Haney, if you take a look at the StatCast page, his best thing he does is basically he's in the 63rd percentile in the walk rate, 7.4% walks, which is about 1 below the league average, and that's his best thing. Chase rate maybe 58%, about average or whatever. But so much blue on his StatCast page. Expected ERA, 8th percentile. Expected batting average, 6th. Fastball velocity, 5th. Whiff rate, 14th. Strikeout rate, 7th or 12th. Barrel rate, 17th. Hard hit rate, 20th. Ground ball rate, 22nd. He's not a very good pitcher. Now, he is a veteran. He's been around for 12 seasons. He's pitched 226 games in his career. These older guys know what they're doing, and he's going to be facing another older guy on today's card. But the other older guy in Jose Quintana is a much better pitcher. He's been around 14 seasons, 3.73 career ERA. This year, 3.57, 4.79 on the expected. But, if you take a look, and I've probably said this before, the last 4 years, he's outperformed his expected ERA. So that's not something to, go crazy about. But most of his stuff on the StatCast page is also in the blue. Fastball velocity, 6th percentile, whiff rate, 4th percentile. But he doesn't throw his four-seamer very often. He doesn't have a great four-seamer. He only throws it 11% of the time. He's mostly a sinker change guy, and he's had success. He knows how to win. He's got 111 wins in his career, and that's not bad, especially for a guy that is really just an afterthought. Nobody really wanted him, and he's back up in the majors. And now Milwaukee's starting to get some of their younger starters healthy again. And so who knows how long he's going to be in this rotation. But while he's in there, he's a guy I like to bet on. Now, the question you have to ask here is this an obvious letdown spot? Well, we saw the same thing when they swept the Dodgers after the All-Star break. They came back out and played very well after that. The way they won yesterday, you would have to think that they played the Mets. The Mets was a big deal. And they swept the Mets, winning some games they probably shouldn't have won. But that's because the Mets are a team of higher-priced guys that just fundamentally they're not very good. They're in a nice pitcher's park. I like the lineup for the Mets. I like the bullpen. They've corrected that a little bit. Mets are a really good team, but I'd just say they're a really good bunch of players. Because as a team, Milwaukee plays better baseball than anybody out there in Major League Baseball this year. Yes, you're laying 2-1 on Quintana. You're not going to find many times in his career that he's been a 2-1 favorite. But I don't want any part of Haney. Haney, if you take a look at his starts going back, like his last 8 starts, he's only had 1 start where he's gone 5 innings. So I know TB's not here, and I know the line would be pretty high. But if you could find a Haney not to get the win, that seems pretty nice to me, because the way Milwaukee's hitting, I don't think he's going to last very long in this game, and they're going to have to go to the bullpen. So rather than laying the $2 on Milwaukee, I'd rather lay $4 that he doesn't get the win. But we'll have to see. Milwaukee's just playing with so much heart right now. They don't care. They're just going out. And now they got a big lead in the division. They don't care. They're playing great ball. I'm not fading them, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll just be honest. Like, I make my first pass through the games, and Pirates plus 1.5 staring me right in the face. It's the setup that I typically would go for, price point I typically would go for. But the problem is, I'm just not sure I want Andrew Haney here. Like, there's I almost feel like a lot of the stuff. So I feel like if you bet the Pirates here, you're pretty much betting on the Brewers just having a letdown, right? Like, I really think that's the main basis of your bet. And the reason I say that is, like, the Brewers hit left-handed pitching. I mean, they're 8th in the league WRC plus against lefties. So you can't really make the case that the Brewers don't hit lefties, because they do. And Andrew Haney is not a very good left-handed pitcher. So again, right there, I know he's been able to navigate like somehow we're in mid-August and he's still got like a semi-respectable season resume. But I wouldn't classify him as even a good left-handed pitcher. I think serviceable for a team that's out of it is probably the best sort of way to describe Andrew Haney at this point. The other problem I have is, the Pirates, yes, they've won some games and they've generated some offense, but they don't hit left-handed pitching either. So even though Quintana is someone that I think might be trending in the maybe like the slightly wrong direction right now, I just don't know if the Pirates is the team I want to sort of oppose him with, because they haven't really hit lefties all year. Now, what could change that for me? I'm going to keep an eye on what the Pirates are going to do with their roster today. Mondays are a day they tend to shuffle it up. They've got 3 guys in the minors right now that probably should be on the big league team. I don't understand it. It's very Twins-esque, where it's almost like I got in an argument on Pirates Twitter yesterday. I I don't know why I'm arguing with Pirates fans on Twitter, but like Cam Devaney was the guy that you traded Adam Frazier for. He's 28 years old. He's never been in the big leagues, probably because he wasn't like a super highly touted draft pick. Okay. He was like a 15th, 16th rounder. I believe he went to Elon, and he's never gotten a chance in the big leagues. The reason he's never gotten a chance, or the reason he didn't get a chance this year, is he was in the Royals organization. He's a shortstop. So he's behind Bobby Witt. So it's like, where are you going to find room for him? The second the Pirates traded for him, I was like, oh my God, this is a no-brainer. He goes right to the big league team because he was having a great season for Omaha. And what do? They put him down at AAA. The guy is a 910 OPS at AAA this year. He's never gotten a chance in the big leagues. The Pirates are still running like James Triolo out, who's I think batting like 190. Okay. So it's like they literally can improve their team. And there's like Nick Solak's having a very good season at AAA as well. They could improve their team by just calling a couple guys up. Why they refuse to do it is things I that keep me up at night, Brian. I just don't understand what we're doing, not having certain guys on the roster. So, that would make them better against right-handed pitching, or I'm sorry, against left-handed pitching. If you call up Devaney, maybe Solak, like there's guys that would make you better in your own organization against left-handed pitching. So I'm going to watch and see what the Pirates do today. I do lean their way plus 1.5. I think that's a nice number to get them at minus 115. But they need to like do a couple things. Maybe bring a fresh reliever or two up because they've got a couple good relievers down there as well. Again, doesn't make any sense. But I'm not just going to just say, oh, this is like the spot where the Brewers are due to play bad. And so let me bet the Pirates, even though I lean their way. Go ahead.
I've got two comments. First of all, I believe yesterday was the final deal with bringing up minor leaguers, the time that they can bring them up now. So if anybody's going to bring up minor leaguers, they can bring them up now, really, with no penalty. They can still be rookie eligible next year. But I want to get back to the Brewers. Excuse me. They came out of the All-Star break. They played the Dodgers. They swept the Dodgers 3 games to nothing. Then you would think, okay, it's a letdown. They're playing an American League team. That was Seattle. They shut them out 6-0 in that game. Then after that, they play a lesser team, Miami, before playing the Cubs. That's the big deal right now with the Brewers. They take 2 out of 3 out of the Cubs, and then they face Washington and Atlanta, 2 teams out of the playoff race, nothing to play for, and they swept them 6-0. Then they get the big deal with the Mets, the team that they may have to play in the playoffs if they get there. They sweep the Mets. Now they're playing Pittsburgh. Then they play Cincinnati and Chicago. So if there is a letdown, it will be in this series against Pittsburgh. But if they didn't let down before after sweeping the Dodgers, and they didn't let down before after taking 2 out of 3 from Chicago, why would you expect them to have a letdown here against this Pittsburgh team? Cincinnati's on deck, a team fighting for the playoffs, but then they play Chicago in a huge series. They've got 5 games against Chicago, August 18th through the 21st. That could be the season. If they don't have a letdown against Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, and then they could take 2 out of those 5 against Chicago, this will be your division champion. And so I think this team right now is not going to let down. I like Milwaukee in this game. Don't want to lay the 2-1. There's probably other ways to bet into it. I'll have to look at that. And, the one thing I like today is all the games are on the evening card. The first one's at 6:10 Eastern. So we got plenty of time to look at the lineups. We've got to look at who's going to be pitching. And if there's any moves because of that minor league situation, we'll see those today.
Funny comment from the comments on the YouTube show on Friday. And again, we read them all. So we really appreciate you guys jumping in the comments, getting in there, interacting with the show, because it helps the show tremendously. And it actually is like, it's fun to interact with you guys. Sometimes, I mean, there's some handicappers that watch this show putting some great stuff in those comments. But the funny one that I wanted to make sure I address on this show, someone's like, why do you call the show Total Bases? You never talk about props. And I was like, that is kind of funny. I came up with the name Total Bases because So here's the story real quick about why we call the show Total Bases. Because when I had the idea for the show, I thought it was just going to be me and Tokyo Brandon doing a show. And I was like, well, Total Bases is a baseball term. And if it's me and Tokyo, if it's my Tokyo Brandon and I for the English crowd, because the English grammar crowd was here on Friday, Tokyo Brandon and I doing the show, we're probably going to talk about NPB, KBO. And so I was like, oh, Total Bases, we're going to talk about everything. But it was a funny comment because, yeah, we don't talk props really at all. And that's really just because I think all of us are more traditional. We've all been doing this a long time. Like, I started this. I mean, you and Tokyo Brandon and Bryan have been at this much longer than I have. But I've really been doing this professionally in some settings since like 2010. And it was props really weren't like a huge thing back then in terms of like the availability of it. So I never really got into the prop stuff. However, I'm going to give you one today. Now, this is a total shot in the dark. I've heard nothing about this, but if the Pirates were to call up Cam Devaney today, and because it's Monday, and Bryan just made a great point about it being like the time where they might be able to do it and not kill his rookie status. Let's just say Cam Devaney gets called up today and he's starting at shortstop. He has been raking left-handed pitching. He's been raking everything at the minor league level. Again, OPS is like 910. He'd have what I would consider a very favorable matchup against Quintana because he's a right-handed hitter against the lefty. I would scour for his props, which the books will have no idea how to price. They'll have no clue, and play them all every which way. He was like 3 for 4 on Saturday. He's locked in right now, and you will probably get prices on Cam Devaney props that are like just totally. Books have no clue. So there is my best bet for the Pirates game. If you see Cam Devaney in the lineup for any reason, bet him all the props over. Okay. Moving on.
One final comment. It's not about this game, but it's something you talked about. I had this conversation yesterday with the people at the concert I went with. When I was growing up, it was you and I. Now all the young kids say me and you, or me and Bob, or whatever. It's correct to say you and I. Is that right from an English?
I always think it's been a while since I was taking English and writing classes at Siena, but I think that is correct.
Yeah. If anybody, enter the comments if you.
Yeah. If the grammar police are watching. The grammar police are watching. So if you want to let us know for sure. All right. Let's move on. City by the Bases, Phillies plus 1.5 all day. I'm not a big Taijuan Walker guy, Bryan, but it was jarring to see the Phillies as an underdog in this game. When I pulled everything up this morning before I knew the number, I was not expecting to see the Phillies as like a plus 105, plus 110 dog. With that being said, are you trying to go against Andrew Abbott here? Or are you taking the plus? Are you taking the Reds? How are you looking at this one?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I know Walker by name has not been very good, but he's having a really good season for himself. Abbott going for Cincinnati. Abbott about a 120 favorite, 122 maybe, 9.5 on the total. I thought the same thing when I started this, and I started looking into it. Taijuan Walker comes in with a 3.53 ERA. Expects a little higher, 4.21, whip 1.3. He's does nothing outstanding. His struggles with the whiff rate, 8th percentile, strikeout rate, 18th percentile, fastball velocity, 19th percentile, but he only throws his four-seamer 10% of the time. So that's what I like. If you don't have a great four-seamer, you got to use it sparingly, and he does. His extension is not very good. He's 6'4". And he's in the 13th percentile. He must land straight up as opposed to fully extending towards the batter. I would think the Philadelphia would want to try to teach that a little bit better, but I think he could have a little bit better success with that. But I was looking at Abbott, and every time I'm looking to buy on Abbott, it's one of those games that he seems to pop up and struggle. 8-2 on the season. 2.34 ERA, 3.49 expected, 1.13 whip. His ground ball rate, and I've mentioned this many times, pitching in Cincinnati, great home run park. It's only in the 7th percentile, and yet he seems to avoid these home runs. Fastball velocity only in the 22nd percentile, and he throws the fastball 47% of the time. Those two things would point to a guy you want to fade. But his hard hit rate against 92%, average exit velocity 82nd percent. He does something that keeps a lot of people off balance. And I've looked, there's a lot of guys I follow that really follow pitching. They're very good, and they try to break it down a little bit. And somebody the other day was mentioning some things because if you follow this, he should not be having the success he has. That said, he's a guy I normally would try to play against, but I went back and looked this year. The most earned runs he's allowed in any game is 4. Every time he has allowed 4 runs, he's come back the next game, either thrown a shutout twice or gave up 1 run once. So he's a guy that really puts it all together after a bad outing. So that takes me off of Philadelphia here. To me, he's clearly, the results are clearly showing he's the better pitcher. Cincinnati's not as good as Philadelphia is. But is this a letdown for Philadelphia? They're just coming off a big series themselves. I'm going to sit back and watch this one and try to learn a little bit.
Yeah, there was a lot of conflicting stuff for me in this game as I started to really dig into it. So City by the Bay, like I agree. Just at my first glance of this game, I was surprised the Phillies were an underdog. But as I sort of, and I've made it known, that's actually something I'll take the L on that, Brian. I thought Tawan Walker was going to be serving up batting practice this year in this fit, and he's actually, not only has he hung around in the Phillies rotation, he's actually been pretty solid. Like all things considered, he has not had a bad season, and I was just sort of downright wrong on him to this point. Now, do I think that means he doesn't get tagged a little bit going forward? This is certainly a spot where it could happen. You've talked about this sort of ad nauseum on the show, like Great American Ballpark being very hitter friendly, long ball friendly. So it's like, this is probably not the best sort of setup for him to have to continue the success that he's had, the sub 4 ERA, like stuff like that. I could see him giving up a few runs, but he's been pretty good. Now, the things that sort of started to take me off the Phillies was one, bullpen got used up quite a bit this weekend. They won all 3 games in Texas, so probably not going to have. It's not that they won't have their best bullpen arms, but the bullpen is pretty tight. It's going to be tired again, and then again you go back to being in a park that is definitely hitter friendly, not super favorable for the Phillies. And then the other thing that sort of took me off the Phillies is the fact that their lineup is not optimal against left-handed pitching. And by all accounts, this is a very good left-handed pitcher. So yeah, did he not have his best stuff last time out against the Cubs? But he still went into the 7th inning. Only, he gave up 4 runs, gave up 7 hits, but he was he was like a pitch away from getting through 7. So 6 2/3. In my opinion, that's just that's a very, very, decent. That's a very, very good start against a solid opponent. So I don't really want the Phillies against Abbott because this is the type of pitcher that should be able to give this lineup some trouble. So again, I kind of don't really know what to do with this one because I don't really know how to make a case for the total. You have an inflated number, but I actually could see some runs because it's still the Phillies. And so if they don't come from the Reds bombing Walker or getting to the Phillies bullpen, like, is Abbott just going to totally wipe the Phillies out? Probably not, but it's a big number. So I don't have much to offer there other than just like a breakdown.
Yeah. I want to touch on a couple of things. You mentioned the lefty righties for Philadelphia. The lefty hitters, who will not likely play today, are Brandon Marsh, Max Kepler, Bryson Stott. The 3 guys who will likely take their place, Otto Kemp, Weston Wilson, and Harrison Bader. So the guys coming in are not great, but the guys they're replacing are not the greatest either, especially Stott, who's having a down season. He's a Vegas kid. I root for him, but He's not having that great of a season. And these are all guys that are in the bottom of the batting order. As for the bullpen, they are in major problems in the bullpen. Duran has pitched back-to-back games. Kerkering has pitched 2 out of 3. Matt Strahm has pitched 3 straight. Tanner Banks has pitched the last 2 days. They brought David Robertson back up to the majors. He'd been in AAA. They were letting him after they signed him. They were giving him some innings in the minors, but he is back and he hasn't pitched in the majors yet. And the other guys, Jordan Romano, Max Lazar, and Joe Ross will be available. And those are probably the guys you were going to see in the back end of this bullpen in this one. So if you do like Philadelphia, maybe the first 5 would be the better way to go.
All right, I'm scanning the chat. They're saying the call-up date is August 14th, but still, okay. if you were to see him in there, anyway, I'm not going to go back down that rabbit hole, but I did see a couple of people, and the chat is very, very confident that it's you and I. The chat is very confident.
We have an intelligent chat compared to some of the
very confident that it's you and I, and that's what I thought as well. So. Yeah. Glad we cleared that up. All right, this one's popping off in the chat. Will says he loves the Red Sox here, and I see a lot of people bringing this game up. So I figured, and this is also kind of a big game. So let's make sure we hit this one. These two teams just played in Fenway like a week ago, or a couple, maybe 10 days ago, and it was a total wipeout. Red Sox just slapped the Astros around in that series. I believe it was one of the first series, Brian, where the Astros had their sort of new complement of players. I believe it was the series right after the trade deadline when they were sort of getting guys into the lineup, and they played terrible. They played absolutely terrible that whole weekend. I got caught with my hand in the cookie jar trying to play the Astros once that weekend, and it was a blowout loss. Since then, they've looked a little bit better. I'm not going to go as far as to say they are convincing me that they're like significantly better than they were pre-deadline. But let's give them we'll give credit where credit's due. They took 2 of 3 from the Marlins, and that was a Marlins team that was hotter than the sun going into that series. And then they took 2 of 3 from the Yankees, and both of those were on the road. So credit to the Astros, 4-2 to close out that road trip, a very long road trip because that road trip started at Fenway Park. So that was Fenway to Miami to Yankees, and now they're heading back home. No off day, big game against the Red Sox, and they get welcomed by Garrett Crochet. So Astros, Red Sox, Crochet, Christian Javier, who's, I believe, did I see him rehabbing? I think he was coming back from injury because I feel like I watched him pitch in AAA a couple times. How are you seeing this one? And while you talk, I'm going to sort of pull his AAA numbers because I know I watched at least one of those starts. Red Sox, Astros.
Yeah, Crochet, a lefty, is about a 170 favorite here on the road to Houston. Javier, a righty, 7.5 to the under 15. To me, Crochet's been fantastic. No doubt about it. I can't say a bad thing about him. Other than this is awful high line when you consider the Houston Astros are this big of a home underdog with Christian Javier, which is a good pitcher. But as you mentioned, he's missed a lot of time. I don't know how long he's going to go here. I have not had a chance to, like I said, all these games are at night. So I haven't had a chance to see if he's on a pitch limit or what's going on with him. He's a guy that's always slid under the radar for Houston, but he's a very good pitcher. He's been terrific. In fact, let me see what his career numbers are. When you take a look at Javier, let's see, been in the league for 5 seasons now. He's got a 33-18 record, 3.59 ERA career, 1.14 WHIP. That's a pretty good pitcher to be getting this big number on. If he was to go, if I knew he would go 80 pitches, I would think there might be some value here on Houston. At this point, I don't know. The closer is going to be available tonight. King pitched the last 2 nights. He's a key in that bullpen, but the Astros have a very good bullpen, and for the most part, all but one guy should be available. it's a value play for me on Houston, but he takes some balls and stand in front of Crochet. And with a total of 7.5, they're telling me right now that they expect Houston to probably score 3 runs in this game. And if they do score 3 runs in this game, is that going to be enough to shut down Boston? If it is, then that's fine. But the under may be a different way to play this one. Pretty level hitting situation in Houston. If you can pull the ball, Crawford boxes are big for home runs, but overall, it's like a neutral field. So, yeah, I'm going to take a look at it a little bit more. If I know Javier is going to play 80 pitches with pretty much everybody in the bullpen available, I may end up with Houston some way in this game, but I wouldn't fault anybody for wanting to back Crochet. Maybe playing Crochet runs under or something like that if you like that side, but I'm not going to lay 175 on the road here against the Houston Astros.
I just needed to jog my memory for a second. So I actually bet on Sugarland in Javier's first rehab start. The reason being I knew the books didn't know he was going to pitch that day. And I also knew that Sugarland was going to piggyback the regular starter who I liked behind him. And so now I remember what I saw in that game and my takeaway, well, from that game, and I caught a piece of one of his other starts, didn't have the command in really any of those AAA rehab starts. Now, that's not the end of the world. Like that's not the end all be all. It doesn't mean he's going to come out and get shelled tonight, but that was my takeaway from that was 9 2/3 innings over 3 AAA rehab starts, 10 strikeouts, which we like to see, but 10 walks. So he really was like kind of all over the place. Had some batters where, his dominant stuff really sort of shone through and he got some strikeouts. And then he also sort of offset it with not being able to find the zone at time and walk some batters. So I don't have like a huge, sometimes I have pretty big takeaways from the rehab. I don't really know what to pull from that because I don't think it means he's just going to come out and walk 6 guys. But at the same time, it's a little concerning that he didn't really have one like sparkling sort of outing. That's concerning. Now, if you want to talk about pitch count and how deep I think he's going to go into this game, let's see. He threw, I just want to double check. So we got most recent start for him at Sugarland, 77 pitches. So I think that's typically a good, if they let him go 77 pitches in a rehab outing, I think you can say 75 to 80 is a realistic target for him in this game. So I think it's going to be his game until he gives him a reason to take him out. I think if he hits the 80 pitch mark, they'll probably look to go to the bullpen. So just if you're trying to handicap this game, that's what I think you can expect from Javier, 75 to 80 pitches. For me, Brian, I'm kind of like, I think if I had more faith in Javier, that I'd be looking at an Astros plus 1.5 here. I just don't know if I do because it is a number that is quite inflated. So for me, more than likely going to sit this one out. And maybe we'll get a spot to play the Astros at a big price later in this series. But unfortunately, I think the big price is being dictated by Crochet on the mound here. So we may not. But I think I still have to lean Astros plus 1.5 if I absolutely had to get involved. But that's the beauty of it. We don't have to do anything. That's our edge. That's our edge as the bettors. We don't have to bet any of these games if we don't want to. So I'll probably pass here. All right, we still have 10 minutes of show left, and it's going to be a 2-teamer today. So we'll have a better chance of hitting the parlay since it's a 2-teamer. Would love to hit one of these. Bryan, Leonard, I'm going to throw it over to you before we go back to the chat. Do you have a game in mind that you want to target? Did we talk about something that might be your parlay leg yet? Because I'm kind of in the same boat where I don't know if I want to use something we talked about or something that might still come up. So I'm going to kind of defer to you here. If you want to bring up a game, go ahead.
We can take a look at let's take a look at Washington against Kansas City. Okay.
All right. Yeah. The chat has brought that one up. So that's good. Let's go to that game.
We've got Savali making his second start since coming back from injury. His first start, he had some success on a lot of whiffs. He didn't throw a lot of pitches, but he had like 19 whiffs. which is great. Bailey Falter going for Kansas City. He's a lefty. Kansas City is about a 150 favorite here, and total of 8.5 to the over, 9 to the under. Savali's a guy who is really a guy I've been waiting for. He's only had one start now, and he had one start in 2022, and he got hurt in that one. So it's been a long road, as Tom Petty would say. It's been a long, long road for Cade Savali, but I like him. He was highly rated in the past. He's 26 years old now, and it's been a shame that it's been this long since he's been able to get into the rotation because of injuries, but I like him. 0 ERA, expected ERA 0.94, expected whip 0.92. He was everything he's advertised in that first matchup. He throws 6 pitches, although the cutter and the slider are less than 10%. But his four-seamer is at 97.3. League average for a righty is 94.9. And he does throw that 31% of the time, slightly higher than the curve, which is 30%. Then he throws a sinker and a change. So he's got some pitches he could throw here. And obviously, nobody has seen him for a while from the opposition. And Bailey Falter, obviously, being playing for the teams he's played in the National League, but he's in the American League now. His extension is in the 96th percentile. Other than that, it's all blue on his StatCast page. Comes in with a 4.14 ERA, 4.82 expected ERA, whip 1.23, which isn't bad. But if his numbers aren't bad, but his StatCast page is terrible. Whiff percentage, 4th percentile. Strikeout rate, 5th percentile. Expected ERA, 18th. Expected batting average, 20th. Fastball velocity, 17th. His fastball velocity is about 1 mile an hour lower than league average, and yet he throws a four-seamer 44% of the time. That's not good. And that's one reason why I'm wanting to fade him here. I'm not a fan, obviously. I don't think anybody is of this Washington bullpen. So let's take a look at what we can get for Washington in the first half here. You can get Washington at basically either plus 100. So you can get them at plus 100. There's a couple 105s out there, but we'll go plus 100 on Savali against Falter in the first 5. And the total in that is 4.5 to the over. Washington with Savali, first 5, plus 100 will be my parlay piece.
Nats first 5 money line, even money is your parlay leg. Just to clarify for everyone, I'll read it at the end of the show as well. Yeah, I can't argue with that. I kind of had Nats jotted down. This is a spot where if the Royals were really, really inflated, I would try to get like a Nats plus 1.5. As you guys know, that's my style, but not even a chance I could do it at the price, nor will it come into price range where it is at right now. And it's not to say that I wouldn't like take a flyer on the Nats here at plus 130 for the game. I mean, that's probably, from a value standpoint, I think it's a reasonable play. But again, it's just, kind of what I look for. That being said, the reason I look toward the Nats is Cade Cavalli looked really good last time out. And this is a guy that, I believe he was a first rounder. I think he was a first rounder back in 2020. Lost nearly 2 years to injury. And, he's got the big fastball like that. Let's just say he didn't lose all that time to injury, right? Like he's the type of guy that would have been hyped up, right? Like, let's say he doesn't lose the time and get hurt. He's the type of guy that like comes up with some hype because he was the 22nd overall pick in the Major League Baseball draft the year after the Nationals won the World Series. So back in 2020, but he ends up missing the majority of all of 2023, the majority of 2024. And so people forget about him. And now he sort of makes his MLB debut. I want to make sure. I'm sorry. His Major League Baseball debut was back in 2022, but he makes his return to the MLB last week. And it's goes relatively unnoticed. That's as good as I've seen him pitch And I've got to see this guy probably 3 or 4 times in person because he's been in Rochester for a while now. And I actually saw him pitch. I think I saw him pitch against Syracuse earlier this year, actually out here. But the point is, he comes up 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. I think he got into the 5th inning. So it's not going to jump off the page from if this is where we go back to, if you don't watch the games, you're just looking at the box scores, not gonna jump off the page. But that was a very impressive 4 1/3, in my opinion. He was throwing hard. The A's hitters, which was, the A's have been kind of crushing the ball, especially right-handed pitching. Felt like they had no chance against him. So that right there was, just enough to make me think okay, this is a guy that could actually put it together at the big league level because, he's been in the minors for a while. I think you can't take what you saw at the minors or his minor league numbers at face value because a lot of it was just rehab, building the arm back up. So again, just based on that, now I don't love the Nats against left-handed pitching typically, but it's not like earlier in the year where they're trotting out 9 lefties. It's a more balanced lineup than it was earlier in the year. So for all those reasons, Brian, I think I got to agree with you here. I see some full game value on Nats as well. So I will co-sign your parlay leg with listen, if you're going to bet this game, I think you take a flyer on the Nationals, take them plus 130. I crushing loss for the Royals yesterday, by the way. They're going to have to get off the mat from that, and that's not easy to do when you're sort of a middling team like the Royals. Go ahead, Brian.
I want to talk about something. Somebody in the chat, Mike Walker, says, talk about the picks you all have for today. First of all, I don't know what my picks are yet. I don't put them out until a little bit later. I'm still working on it. Like I said, these are all on the night card. I'd rather win than get them up earlier and the company make a little bit more money, me make a little bit more money. I'm out there trying to win. So they are going to probably go up later. I want to check a little bit of lineups and who I think is going to play. Also, if we were to give you out the picks that we have, we wouldn't make any money. Wager Talk wouldn't make any money, and the show wouldn't exist. So I know what you're saying, but you want our best plays, but the company we work for does sell plays, and that's why we're doing this show. And they would fire me in no time if I give out my plays on this show all the time.
Kristen Hess, we appreciate that. Everyone hit the like button. It does help. And that's really, listen, we do this show 5 days a week. We're giving you an hour of it's probably more geared to people that are handicapping themselves. Like that's really what I think our goal when we did this, set out with this idea. We wanted to provide the real value. Well, we want to always provide value, but we sell our best bets. That's our job. So as always, I've got a play I absolutely love tonight. I can't talk about it on this show, or I can't tell you what it is on this show because then no one would buy it. And that's up at Wager Talk right now. I'm 12-3 in my last 15, and it's a 5%er. So if you're new to the show or the site, 5% plays are our max bet. That's the maximum rating we can give a play. And I've got one tonight. So that's over at the Wager Talk site as well. Brian, I'm sure he has stuff up. Do you have anything locked in yet or no?
I have nothing yet. Brandon's in the chat. Brandon's got some stuff up already.
He wasn't Tokyo Brandon. Driving. Tokyo Brandon is in the chat somewhere in central Japan. Jesse Schul was like, where's Tokyo? Well, he's not in Tokyo, which is why he's not here. I don't know where he is, but like I said, TB, I'd love to drive around Japan with you sometimes. I love driving. A lot of the times when I go to these basketball games, unless it's flying to the West Coast, I usually drive. I'll drive 15 hours. I don't care. It is. I just enjoy it. So I'd imagine that's an incredible drive that he's on right now. Just driving out into the Japan country. That is awesome. He'll be back tomorrow when he's on internet somewhere. So we'll have TV back tomorrow. I want to get the chat. We'll probably go a minute or two longer today. Let's get them one more game and then I'll lock in the parlay. We got the Tigers crowd here. And I want to bring this one up because I feel like I know this team, Brian. I said White Sox might go on a little losing streak. I saw the Sharps. The Sharps came in every day on the White Sox over the weekend. And I think even knocked one of those prices down to where you played back at the market and cashed with the Guardians. Did I see that correctly? Did you have a winner with the Guardians this weekend over the White Sox?
I had the Guardians yesterday or 2 days ago in a full play, and they won. I haven't had good luck with the Guardians, but I couldn't pass it up. But I had 2 plays yesterday. My lesser play was the Guardians yesterday, and they lost. I actually, to show you that we don't just complain about our losses, I had my top play yesterday was the Angels' first 5 team total over 1.5. They have 0 with 2 outs in the 5th inning. There was a walk, and then they get Shanuel out of anybody hit a home run. He hits one. I was like 1 strike away from losing. And so I pulled that at my ass, and I got that victory. And it's about time I got some good luck. So I'm very happy. Sure. And I fully admit it. When I get lucky, I got lucky in that one.
So I want to go to this game because this is a game, but this is a name that I don't think people have seen in a while. I was surprised to see Elvis Peguero getting a start tonight. I don't know if that's who's going to actually start, but I saw his name thrown around for bulk innings. So, that's have we gotten a starter announced for the White Sox yet?
I see the same thing as you do. Peguero's pitched.
Oh yeah, he's in there.
Yeah, he's pitched 6 games out of the bullpen this year, 7 total innings. So he could be just a 1-inning starter. He's gone 7 innings and 6 starts, or 6 games. So maybe you might get 2 innings out of him. But the last 3 years, he's been a bullpen guy. Won about 130 total innings in his 5 seasons, 139 total innings. Let me give you his career numbers: 4.12, expected ERA 4.79, WHIP 1.46. Really good extension, 94th percentile. It's a limit. He's only pitched 7 innings, so there's not a whole lot of value in his StatCast at this point. Chris Paddock was the guy going for Detroit. 4.91 ERA, 4.72 expected, 1.25 WHIP. He was the one that just recently played against the team that just traded him, and that was against the Twins. He looked pretty good. Comes in 4.91 ERA, 4.72 expected, 1.25 WHIP. Great extension. Doesn't walk anybody, only 5.3 walks a game. His chase rate is very good, but everything else is in the blue. Hard hit rate, 15th percentile. Strikeout rate, 16th. Whiff, 16th. So we'll have to see. Let me take a quick look at the Chicago White Sox bullpen, because
I know what they're going to do. I know what they're going to do with their pitching now. It looks like it's going to be. Well, I was going to say, I want you to look at their bullpen and then jump back in. I just want to let you know that it is likely. It looks like we're going to have Peguero as an opener, because he's been a 1-inning guy at AAA all year in the Brewers organization, where he's done most of his work. Got grabbed by the White Sox, threw an inning last week against Syracuse, and now he's up. This looks like a true just opener 1-inning situation, and it's likely Tyler Alexander in bulk after him. So yeah, go ahead. I want you to finish what you were saying, and then I'll jump back in.
Yeah, Tyler Alexander did the same thing last Wednesday through 67 innings. Or 67 pitches. Other than Jordan Leisure, who pitched the last 2 days, he probably won't be available. They brought Cam Boozer, a name from the past. They brought him back up from AAA. They've had 4 guys pitch yesterday for him, but nobody threw over 20 pitches. I think they'll all be available in this one. So, yeah, it'll be a bullpen game for them. And, they didn't use the bullpen a whole lot against Cleveland because they weren't winning other than yesterday. So a lot of the guys are fresh in that regard. So their better bullpen arms will be out there.
And I will play on that. I'm going to put White Sox plus 1.5 in the parlay. It's minus 130. I think that's a good price to get the run to work with. And I'll play off of what you were just talking about as the reason why. I've talked about this a ton on this show. I like the way Venable has managed this team. I like that he sort of turned it into a looser, like more of like a developmental atmosphere where everyone plays. He's putting everyone on the roster in position to potentially contribute. They're all getting a chance. He's mixed up the bullpen arms really well. And now that they've called up some guys like Grant Taylor, there's even Leisure's been okay. Like what the lefty Icer is Icer the lefty that gets in once in a while. Alexander's been okay. Like they've actually been respectable. A lot of these relievers have done just fine the last month or so, and I think it really has to do with just like they're playing the way that so all these guys came up from Charlotte basically. So if you look at this White Sox roster right now, it's very heavy AAA Charlotte players from earlier this year. And Venable's managing the same way they manage down at Charlotte, where it's like you pitch every couple days. It doesn't really matter who's in what spot. It's more about getting your work in. We're going to get everyone at bats. We're going to platoon and try to put guys in position to have some success because we're not that concerned with wins and losses. But what it's actually done has made them a better team wins and loss wise than they were the first 90 games where they were 30-60. So I love the way things are going for the White Sox right now. And I got to say, and I don't think our Tigers crew is going to disagree with this statement. This team has some issues right now. Like and I'm going to go back to that Mariners series going into the break. Okay. They kind of took the foot off the gas. It was going into the All-Star break. They had 5 guys going to the All-Star game, whatever. But it set the tone for like, this Tigers team is not that talented in relation to the other good teams in this league. They don't have the talent. Like the Tigers, if you look at where they are win-loss wise, they don't have the talent that the Dodgers do, or the Phillies do, or the Blue Jays do, or the choking over here, Brian, help me out. The Cubs, like even the Mets, right? They don't have that kind of talent. The way the Tigers racked up all those wins was playing really, really good baseball. And what have the Tigers not done since the All-Star break? They're just not playing like great, fundamentally sound ball anymore, where it's like the bullpen does their part and everyone does their part. And it's really turned into a team that's just looked very, very average. And now they're going on the road here, and you need them to win by more than 2 runs with a guy like Chris Paddock on the mound that the White Sox have seen a ton of because he came from their division and he's not that good in the first place. Yeah, let's do that. White Sox plus 1.5 is what I'm going to do for the parlay. And I'll go back to you.
Do you want to point out? Steve Duke says Alexander was yesterday. He's mistaken. Sorry, Steve. He did not pitch yesterday. He did pitch on Wednesday.
Yeah, all the reports on Twitter are that it's going to be Peguero for an inning followed by Tyler Alexander. Not Jason Alexander, who's on the Astros. This is who's
actually pitched really well lately.
He had a good, he
Every
did.
time I'm picking to go against him, he pitches well. You run into these things sometimes where you got certain guys, and I used to work with a guy, and he'd say that team's on my list, and I'd say, you say that every day. You don't. After a month, you don't have any team you can bet on.
Yeah. Yeah, and listen, I wanted, and the other thing too I want to point out here, I know we're going over a few minutes. Tokyo Brandon is still firing out. He must get okay internet, Central Japan or phones, or actually, you know what? They probably have all better stuff than we do. It's like
that's actually a modern country, not like the United States.
He says we need more likes. So yeah, and we got over 1,000 live viewers. So went a little long today, but I think it's worthwhile conversation. Going back to last week, I said, I really wanted to find a spot to bet the White Sox. I really couldn't. I felt like they were sort of on the wrong trajectory last week. Well, they did get the win yesterday, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them play it with a little bit more life this week, especially being back home. And let's be honest, like what do they have to get fired up for at this point? Not much, but division leader comes to town. You're at home. I think that gets the juices flowing a little bit. So yeah, I'm interested in the White Sox here. And if this were to get bet down a little bit more, I might need to throw another play on the client card. But for now, it's going to be the parlay leg, which is locked in. It's a 2-teamer, Brian. We got White Sox plus 1.5 for the full game. And we've got Nationals. So that's my leg, White Sox plus 1.5 full game. And then we've got Nationals first 5, even money. 2-team parlay today, plus 254 odds. Give us the likes, subscribes. If you missed any of the live show, head on over to the Wager Talk YouTube channel and watch the replay. I have a 5% play up tonight that I love, and we did not talk about it, so I will say that. We didn't talk about it on the show.
I just want to let everybody know, make sure you grab that 5%. Brandon will be back tomorrow, as far as I know. I will be gone on Wednesday. I'll be somewhere where Wi-Fi is just not going to be good enough. If you've complained about Trig going in and out on some of his stuff, I don't even want to try my Wi-Fi at this place. So I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll skip on Wednesday.
Hopefully, wherever you're going on Wednesday, I'll have some air conditioning though, because I got to be honest, it has been a hot summer here in Central New York, and I don't know how you guys do it. I'm not cut out for it. I need it to be 50 or 60 degrees every day. I'm just not cut out for the heat. I hate it. I can't wait for
snow. Every day out here for the last week, and what a time to not have air conditioning.
All right, it was a great Monday show. We made it, just the two-man show. We're back with a 3-man weave tomorrow, if you will, and then we'll be 2-man again on Wednesday. We got a nice 2-teamer. Nats first 5 money line, White Sox full game plus 1.5. Appreciate over 1,000 of you tuning in on the live. Please head over and like, subscribe on the replay. If you missed anything, it's all there on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. And we'll see you guys back here 9 a.m. tomorrow. Take care.